So I hope that you all feel that sense of, peace and light, and that just for a moment when you leave here today that you feel, I don't know, a sense of joy. Because I think we all need we all need to feel joy now during this time of the season, during this time. So anyway, okay, now I'll start. You're all reading into that.
All right, man, we got to talk about how America might officially be on its way back. At least that's what it feels like after Trump secured that landslide victory, becoming the president-elect, telling Kamala Harris, bye-bye, chucking the deuces. I mean, it feels like the world just took a collective deep breath, slapped on a fresh coat of paint and said, all right, let's do this again. I mean, honestly, I already feel like Trump is the president. I mean, like, why wait till January? For an example, in his recent appearance on the world stage during the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, where you got a lot of the world leaders that get together in one of the most iconic locations, I mean, you can imagine who was still in the show. You guessed it, Trump. But not only was he still in the show, he was owning it, standing in front and center, radiating that main character energy that we all love to see, while the rest of the world leaders might as well just be NPCs in the background. Now, here's where things get interesting. MSNBC, our favorite unbiased network, and online, by the way, couldn't stand it when their reporter practically acknowledged that Trump is the guy in the most prominent position, as one does when you're the leader of the free world. But the moment the reporter even slightly acknowledged Trump dominance at the event, the MSNBC host scrambled like they just dropped some coffee to change the subject. I mean, you could practically feel the panic through the screen. Honestly, it was like someone trying to ignore the elephant in the room. I mean, Trump is way more respected than Biden. But isn't that something we should all want in our commander-in-chief?
Trump and President Macron, and then, of course, when there was the addition of President Zelensky.
Right, we're still waiting for a readout from either the Trump team or from President Zelensky or Macron's team about the specifics of that meeting. Again, this was all happening here in the last hour before they made their way over to the cathedral. As you watch more world leaders and dignitaries exit their motorcade to enter the cathedral here. When it comes to President Macron and President-elect Donald Trump, Yamiche, you know this from the first White House, is that those two struck up a deep relationship, one that was sometimes tense. In other moments, though, where President Macron used flattery as a form of winning over the President-elect Trump. And that is where, at one point back at a World War I commemoration, just days after Donald Trump touted himself as being a nationalist, the president of France used that moment in that speech to suggest and condemn that nationalism was not in good favor for globalism and a united front and the alliances that NATO especially has allowed the European Union and other allies to really move over the last 7 decades, the world order in a much more strident position. I think that this is where, when you're looking at some of these scenes here, I think it's important to note, if I may, Yamiche, the seating arrangement. We were able to see a photo of the seating arrangement just before everybody started entering the cathedral, and President-elect Trump is placed in the most prominent seat, and that is the one.
And it's really interesting. I want to just say, Fawn, that we're also seeing the First Lady, Jill Biden, entering here. So I want to continue to let you do your reporting, but just to mark the moment that you also see now the First Lady of France, that's French President Emmanuel Macron's wife. She's now there with the First Lady, being Jill Biden, of course. So, Vaughn, I know you were talking about what's going on there. I want to, while I have you, also in some ways talk about what Emmanuel Macron is going through, which is that this was a tough week for the French in general in French Parliament. You have that they passed the French Parliament, that is a no confidence vote against the Prime Minister and his cabinet, effectively toppling the government there. With that in mind, I wonder what you make of this moment for Macron.
Did you catch that? I mean, did you see how the woke hosts practically dove for the eject button the moments that the reporter started to state the obvious? You could almost hear the producer in her earpiece telling her to board. I mean, it's almost like they're allergic to the idea of giving Trump any credit for anything. I mean, let's be real. MSNBC isn't exactly thrilled about their reporter admitting that on air. Trump is the alpha in the room. I mean, come on, bro. It's right there in your face. He's the top dog, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, or some far left pundit even wants to admit it. Sometimes, bro, it just is what it is. And I would like to think that's what we want for our president. But maybe that's just me. But switching off of me, we got to talk about France's president, Emmanuel Macron. Oh, poor Macron, man. Bless his heart. Anytime Macron and Trump is in the same room or in the same space, you can feel the tension in the air, man. It's kind of like my little brother always trying to one-up me. It's just not going to happen, bro. I'm big bro. You little bro. You just got to stay in your space. And spoiler alert, it's kind of the same thing when Trump and Macron is in the same room.
Tries to pull it. Right there, you can see her arm coming back. Doesn't work. Now watch the roll. Hey, let me take you back 2 hours in time to when Trump first arrived in Paris so this makes sense to you. All right, he's getting out of the car. He sees Macron. Friendly, a little pull, nothing special. For Trump, that's a very calm, casual handshake. Now, here's where things go wrong. So, right here, do you see it? Grabbing his hand. So they're walking up. He wants to stop him for more pictures. Look at this weird pinch. It looks like one of those claw grabs for when you're trying to get a toy or a prize. Okay, immediately grabs the hand firm, and look at his elbow. Why is his elbow this high? It's a display of dominance. Macron doesn't look like a short guy, but Trump is bigger. So he's showing he's the bigger guy, grabbing the hand firm, lifting it up. That face, that's not a typical Trump calm face. This is the first thing that Trump does to get back at him. But watch, that's not enough. What did you notice? Who decided when the photo op was over? Trump. And when he did he say, okay, should we go inside? Did he turn and say, hey, let's go? Watch, turns, doesn't even look back and look at Macron. He's like, hey, let's go. It is not over. Okay, handshake. Now he's going in. Okay, so now you can kind of see it start. All right, the pull, pulls him in, pulls it up. That's pretty normal. Little firm, little bro shake goes up. No, watch this. What he's doing now, I've never seen him do this before. He's luring him in with a false sense of security. So he does this, and then he loosens it up. And watch Macron, because you can't brace yourself at all times. I wish I could stand up, but I'd be out of shot. You can't brace yourself at all times. Otherwise, you look weird and stiff. So Trump does that, the hard thing a few times. And then he loosens up, and Macron loosens up. And right when he does, watch what happens. Pulls him in, yanks him off weight, pulls him off his center. This is classic. One more. Watch this.
Thank you.
And doesn't know where he's going with the hand. Okay, so what that is, obviously in the French culture, you typically will kiss on both cheeks. But the thing is, my interpretation of this is Trump's leaning into this, joking around with it a little bit. Because first of all, if you're not from Paris, it happens less often. You can still do it sometime. But most of the time in French culture, it's the French person that would initiate that with the person who is in or the guest. But Trump wants to be the one, once again, he wants to lead. So he decides to lean in and give the kiss. Dude, this is too funny.
Let's be real here for a second. That was way less than a handshake and more of a low-key arm wrestle. They definitely was trying to send a message without saying the word. But I mean, handshakes have always been a way that leaders and really men in general assert themselves. It's all about the grip. It's all about the posture. It's kind of like your business card as a man. But that's something my dad taught me on an early age. He say, your handshake, son, has always said a lot about you. I used to hate when people get the best of me and squeeze my hand. I'd be like, no, we got to do that again. But anyway, meanwhile, it's worth pointing out the bigger picture here. Trump's presence at these events naturally draws a lot of attention. But in contrast of, let's say, Joe Biden, who's notably been quiet lately, it's pretty striking. Remember the last time we seen Sleepy Joe on the world stage? I mean, he was literally living up to the name.
People, goods and services, but will also promote shared prosperity and inclusive growth across the region. Internal consultations aiming at aligning this project with national priorities and other bilateral and regional commitments. In closing, allow me to reiterate Tanzania's commitment to regional integration and shared prosperity.
Now, of course, some people ain't gonna be thrilled with this dynamic. And you could bet your ass that shows like The View is already trying to spin it.
This weekend's reopening celebration of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris was attended by world leaders like French President Macron and Ukrainian President Zelensky and the UK's Prince William. You know who was there, too. And remember, he said he's not the president, and yet he keeps acting like he is. But he had, a friendly exchange with the First Lady, which he ended up using to hawk his cologne on social media, along with the caption, "A fragrance your enemies can't resist."
I think he named it Fight, 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 which is like not the type of cologne I'd pick out, because usually you're trying to attract people, not
he claims in the Fight, 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 he describes there's a fight, fight, fight for men and a fight, fight, fight for women. The fight, fight, fight for women is for women that can accept challenges with grace.
But you lost me at the first fight. I don't go to any cologne entitled Fight Anything.
That kind of perfume's not going to smell great or
no,
anything
it's
like
not.
that.
But the people are enraged about the picture between Dr. Biden and President-elect
Should
Trump.
Kicked him in the nuts?
No, I actually I totally disagree. I think we take too much to pictures until you're one of those people in a picture where you say that's not what was going on. There are two more pictures I pulled of that same thing where you look. It's not quite as cordial looking. There might be more going on.
Oh, that one is interesting.
I honestly care less about the shaking hands or kind of showing up and passing, the results of an election along and democracy than I would like to see President Biden a little more, because right now I feel like we're seeing Dr. Biden, we're seeing Trump take the kind of the reins, and a lot of progressives are saying that President Biden's ceding power, and I know there's not a lot he can do in a month.
He was at the Kennedy Center.
But I'd love to I'd love to see him reassure.
It's hard for him to be in a whole bunch of places.
I agree.
On a foreign trip to Africa.
Let's not forget, he was sleeping. But of course, that's not something that Anna Navarro is going to even talk about or mention. The reality is that Biden's stamina is not there, bro. He has a problem keeping up with the demands of being the president. Remember, they came out and was like, oh, he got to take a nap or go to sleep before 4 o'clock. But Trump, on the other hand, just seemed more composed, confident, and ready to lead. Meanwhile, Biden just give out this impression of somebody who just simply not quite up for the task and just worn out. But the contrast is hard to ignore. And this is why a lot of people are frustrated. They see it, they know it, and Trump is not even in office, but he commands this respect and this attention without even trying. He's not even trying to pretend to be president, but his presence when he's in these rooms command the attention and respect from all these other leaders. And that's just something that Biden just don't have. But see, look, this type of authority and natural ability to lead isn't something that you could just manufacture. It's like what they tried to do with Kamala Harris. Speaking on the elephant in the room, where the hell has she been? This is someone that they try to sell to the public that was ready to lead. So where is she? And why isn't she stepping up to the plate? If she truly had what it takes, we'd already be seeing her making moves, positioning herself as a leader. The same thing I was saying during her campaign. Instead, she's practically been absent. And then when she does show up, it don't really instill confidence. I mean, I said it before. If I was her during her campaign season, I would have been making moves, showing up to show people that I am presidential, using my power that I already have. The same thing that Trump was saying during the debate. Hey, why don't you march down to the White House and wake up Sleepy Joe and do the things that you're saying that you could do now? You got the power. Do it.
They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
And me personally, I would have called Trump out on his bluff. Even after losing, I would have still been out there doing the same, showing up on the world stage, talking to leaders, setting the tone for my next campaign, because she did say that she was going to run again. So why not instill confidence in the people now to prove that you got what it takes for the job? But ever since the election, it feels like she's more focused on laying low rather than proving that she's up for the job. I mean, and every time we do see her, she appeared drunk.
Don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Bleary-eyed and visibly weary, Harris sought to inspire resilience in the face of failure. "Have you been drinking?" actor Kevin Sorbo quipped in a reply. Another commenter snarked, "Why would you release a video in which she's this drunk?"
The difference between what's currently in office and what people are clearly looking for couldn't be more obvious. It's almost as if the world has already moved on. People are starting to see Trump as the leader again because, frankly, the current leadership feels weak. Honestly, it reflects more on Kamala than even Biden. How she's letting someone that's not even in office overshadow her administration. I mean, she was supposed to be this new leader and help Biden lead when he falls short. So, I mean, what happened?
Last week, and then he
It'd be
was
nice if he
here
held a
at the
press conference, because
Kennedy
that's what President Obama did when Trump took over the first time. It'd be nice just to have a little speech or something. I care less about a photo.
On the photo, it's important that not just America's allies are watching, but America's adversaries are watching that moment. And the world was watching this election, waiting with bated breath to know what was going to happen. And to know that there's a peaceful transition of power, that despite my warnings and others about my concerns about Donald Trump, which are still very real, that America's going to move forward and that the First Lady is going to be able to be cordial to him on the world stage. Also, at the outskirts of this, he met with Macron and Zelensky and talked about the war in Ukraine. And that's something I care deeply about. And I want Donald Trump to come around to perhaps continuing to support Ukraine and standing by the U.S.'s position. So my point when I say I'm not going to be apocalyptic, it's not changing a tune. It's not making every single thing a 5-alarm fire. Yeah. If he does good, if he gets the Israeli hostages out, I promise I will wear a MAGA hat for one day on the show and say, thank you for doing it. Yeah. She'll knock it right off my head. But like you have to be able to cheer for wins when they happen and then call out relentlessly the wrongdoing.
Well, let me say this. First of all,
you can feel how triggered Sunny Hostin and the rest of the View panel is over Alyssa Fair-Griffin admitting that she's willing to give Trump credit when he does something right. I mean, her approach is real simple. If Trump does something that she agree with, she'll support it. And if not, she won't. But see, that's a problem when it comes down to the View, because in their world, you're not allowed to say anything positive about Trump. You're supposed to hate him across the board. No exceptions.
I really congratulate the French for having completed the reconstruction of Notre Dame, which I think is so significant for the entire world. It was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. They did a beautiful job. What I find interesting, though, is, Jill Biden is nothing but class, and Donald Trump is nothing but crass. Because what's ironic to me is, so he's now using this picture to sell one more object, right? And so apparently people voted for him because they couldn't afford the price of eggs. And he said yesterday in that interview that it was about groceries. But the grift never ends with these people. He's selling golden sneakers, $10,000 watches,
He's not
digital
selling
trading
me, although
cards.
I look the part.
He's selling Bibles. This cologne is $200. Melania was on Fox News selling Christmas ornaments. Remember the lady who said she didn't like Christmas? For $100. I mean, the grift with these people. This is what you got, America. This is what you got.
Well, tacky. I'm not worrying about it. He can sell as much of that stinky stuff as he wants to. If you want to buy it, just please don't bring it in here. Please don't bring it here.
You hate
Yeah, my nose will fall off because I don't do well with sense.
Think about it. Kamala Harris raised a boatload of cash from her donors just to spend it on the most ridiculous things like fake endorsements, like Cardi B getting on stage just to speak gibberish, Beyonce getting on stage for 2 seconds before running off. And let us not forget, Megan Thee Stallion getting on stage to shake her ass for votes. Fake interviews with Reverend R. Sharpton, Roland Martin, Call Her Daddy, and that fake Oprah town hall just to run out of money. And what she do next? Yeah, you remember. Don't act like you forgot. She begged the people to pay off her campaign debt. Like, imagine donating to her campaign just to find out your money went to fancy photo ops and people twerking on stage for votes. I mean, if anybody should be feeling scammed, it should be her donors. But nah, instead of addressing that, they'd rather nitpick at Trump. Why? is because they can't even stand the fact that he's already been treated like he's back in charge, even without being in office. But the real issue here is the difference between Trump leadership and the joy and the vibes the Democrat was talking about is not even in the same league with Trump's leadership.
To accept a salary as president?
I'm not going to accept a salary, no. And I'm giving up a lot of money, you know. Do you know what amazed me, and maybe this isn't right, but other than George Washington, and they're not sure about that, every president has accepted their salary except me.
And you did accept the pension, correct?
I don't think so.
You didn't accept your pension?
I don't think I accepted anything. I didn't. I get a salary. The president gets about $450,000 a year, and I didn't take it.
I want to ask you again about...
By the way, I got no credit for that. That's okay.
Well, I am asking you about it for that reason.
Yeah.
And I think it's notable you're not going to accept a salary.
Yeah, I don't accept. I'm not. Yeah. I didn't, and I'm not going to. Okay. And I don't believe I got any credit for that. But I just feel it's, for me, it's a nice thing to do.
Well, let's be real. The world has already started shifting, man. Trump influence is like that one friend who shows up to the party and everybody suddenly just start having a good time. It's just undeniable at this point. Meanwhile, we got a current administration that's more or less like the guy that fall asleep in the corner of the party. Or better yet, on the world stage in Africa. But that's just me, man. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe. Remember, keep your head up. Keep your nose clean. You save the world, you live forever. Peace.